We continue now at the top of Daf Chesam and Beis Meseches Yoma. This is Yoma Daf 8b. The Gemara is in the middle of quoting a brisa. The brisa says there's no difference between the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur and the Kohen that burns the Parah Aduma, except for the following: Shezeh Prishasu LeKedusha V'Echav HaKohanim Nogen Bo. That in this case the separation is for Kedusha purposes, meaning the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur is separating for Kedusha purposes because he's going to be entering the Machane Shechina, and therefore the other Kohanim, his brethren, the Kohanim, can touch him. There's no problem of Tumah. And this other one, the Kohen who burns the Parah Aduma, is separating for purity purposes, the Einachav HaKohanim Nogen Bo, and therefore his brethren, the Kohanim, cannot touch him. Rashi over here explains, the reason why he's separating is because he's going to be entering Machane Shechina. The point is, when he separates from people, he'll have a certain amount of awe, which is appropriate for entering the Machane Shechina. And the other one, the Kohen who burns the Parah Aduma, he's separating for purity purposes. We want to be strict to make him completely pure. Because the reason why we want to be extra careful is because we actually do a leniency on that day. We make him tamei at a certain level. We want to show that Tzidukim are wrong. That Tzidukim said that you have to wait for Harav Shemesh. We want to show that they're wrong. Therefore, they were strict. That they didn't want people to take it too lightly, and therefore they were strict in terms of purification of this Kohen, and they said no one should touch him. So that, the brisa says, is the only difference between the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur and the Kohen that burns the Parah Aduma. So the question is, who does this follow? And the Gemara explains, Keman, who does this brisa follow? O Rabbi Meir or Rabbi Yossi. It follows either Rabbi Meir or Rabbi Yossi, meaning the idea is, both Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi agree that when it comes to the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur and the Kohen who burns the Parah Aduma, they are equal in terms of whether you sprinkle them every day of the 7 days or just the third of the seventh day. They don't make any distinctions between the two. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi argue whether you do that or not, whether you sprinkle every day or not, but they don't make a distinction between the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur and the Kohen who burns the Parah Aduma. Rabbi Chanina Skana Kohanim, because if you're going to say that this brisa follows Rabbi Chanina Skana Kohanim, ha'ika nami ha, there's also this distinction, because he makes a distinction and says when it comes to the Kohen who burns the Parah Aduma, there you have to do the Hazah all 7 days. When it comes to Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur, you don't do that. He makes a distinction. That would have been another distinction, but that's not mentioned in this brisa. And the Gemara continues, Maskif lo Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina asks the following question. This is a question on Rabbi Meir's position that you sprinkle all 7 days of the 7 days, because maybe each day is either the third day from Tumah or the 7th day from Tumah. So the Gemara asks, Bishlama Rishon Shemesh Shlishi. I understand the first day, maybe that's the third day from when the person became Tamei. Sheni Shemesh Shlishi. Maybe the second day is the third day from when he became Tamei. Shlishi Shemesh Shlishi. Maybe the third day is the third day from when he became Tamei. Chamishi Shemesh Shvi. Now the 5th day, maybe that's the 7th day. Shishi Shemesh Shvi. And also the 6th day, maybe that's the 7th day. Shvi Shemesh Shvi. The 7th day, maybe that's the 7th day from becoming Tamei. Elo Revi Lama Li Hazah Klal. But he's asking, on the 4th day, what do you need Hazah for? Lo b'shlishi ikal esvuke, v'lo b'shvi ikal esvuke. There's no question. It cannot possibly be the 3rd day, and it cannot possibly be the 7th day. And Rashi over here explains, B'shlama yom rishon ma'azan olav shema hayom yom shlishi l'tamaso. V'chein sheni v'chein shlishi shema sho achas kodem prishaso nitma. 3rd day also, maybe 1 moment before separation he became tamei. The 3rd day is the 3rd day from when he became tamei. And chamishi shema shvi shem hayo harishon l'prisha shlishi l'tuma. Meaning, if the 1st day was day 3, so nemtzah chamishi shvi, then the 5th day is day 7. V'chein shishi v'chein shvi. Ela Revi, but when it comes to the 4th day, amai mazinon Allah, there's no point. Why are we sprinkling? Lo b'shlishi ikol esfuke, tahami shapiresh lo nitma v'meis. Because the 4th day can't be the 3rd day of Tumah, because he's already separated already for enough days. He's already separated from the amount of time where it can't possibly be the 3rd day. Remember, this is the 4th day that he's separating from anybody, from everybody. V'lo b'shvi ikol esfuke, and also it can't be the 7th day, shem haya shvi l'tomaso, because if the 4th day of separation was the 7th day of his tumah, then it's going to come out that the 3rd day was really 1 day before he separated. Comes out he didn't do the sprinkling on the 3rd day. Sprinkling on the 7th day is worthless if you didn't sprinkle on the 3rd day. So the 4th day, there's no reason to do a hazah. That's the question of the Gemara. So the Gemara says, but according to you that you're asking this question, Hazah kol shiva miyika, do you really think you do Hazah all 7 days? But we've established the Hazah shavus. Hazah is an Isra Midrabanan. You don't do it on Shabbos. So therefore, obviously, Shabbos is going to fall out on one of these days. So it doesn't literally mean you sprinkle every day. Elamayis loch lamemer, but rather what do you have to say? Shiva levar mi Shabbos. When it says 7 days, it means 7 days besides for Shabbos. Hachanami shiva levar mi revi. So too over here, it means 7 days besides for the 4th day. It doesn't mean every day. It means every day that there's a possibility that it's day 3 or day 7. Amar Rava says, Hilkach, therefore, because this is the case, Kohen Gadol b'Yom HaKippurim, when it comes to Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur, the lo b'di don talia milsa, we can't control what day of the week the guy starts the separation. Ela b'kviyah diyarcha talia milsa. That all depends on when the Rosh Chodesh is. B'tlasa b'tishrei b'ilef rushay. He's always going to need to separate on the 3rd of Tishrei, whatever day of the week that falls out. V'chol eimas d'misrmi tlasa b'tishrei mefarshinan lai. Whenever the 3rd of Tishrei falls out, that's going to be the separation preceding 7 days preceding Yom Kippur. Avol kohen asarif es hapara. But when it comes to the kohen who burns the para aduma, v'didon talia milsa, that's totally dependent on us. We can decide when he's going to burn the para aduma and what day of the week he'll start a 7-day separation. So therefore, mafreshinon le b'revi Shabbos. Therefore, what we'll try to do is have him start the separation on Wednesday. Kihechi denisrami revi shelo b'Shabbos. That way, what's going to come out is day number 4 will be Shabbos. So Shabbos he's not sprinkling anyway because of Shabbos. Plus day 4 you don't sprinkle. So then you'll get the maximum amount of hazos. The Gemara continues at the 2 dots. L'lishkas parhedron v'chulu. It said that they separate the Kohen Gadol 7 days before Yom Kippur to the lishkas parhedron. So the Gemara says, Tanya, we learned in a brayso. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, V'chi lishkas parhedron haisa, was that called the lishkas parhedron? V'alo lishkas bilvati haisa, wasn't it called lishkas bilvati? Rashi says lishkas bilvati lashon sarim, a language of generals or officers. Kach haisa nikris, that was the name, lishkas sarim, the lishka of the sarim. So the Gemara says, or the Brisa says, Ela betchila hayakorno sa lishkas bilvati. Originally, that's what it was actually called. It was called lishkas bilvati. Now Rashi here says, what do you mean betchila in the beginning? It means kol yemei Shimon HaTzadik. We're talking about all the days of Shimon HaTzadik. Shimon HaTzadik was the first Kohen Gadol in the second Beis HaMikdash. Sheherich Yomim, he was a Kohen Gadol for a long time. So hayakorno sa lishkas bilvati. So they called it lishkas bilvati at that time. That was in the beginning. When we talk Shanos and all of Mammon Lakuna, but then what happened was they started buying the position of Kohen Gadol during Bayis Sheni, during the second Beis HaMikdash. So Machlifin Osa Kol Shnei Masar Chodesh. So the position would change every 12 months. Kiparhedron halal, was like these parhedron, we're going to say in the next Amud, people appointed by the king. It was like these parhedron, Shemachlifin Osam Kol Shnei Masar Chodesh. They switched them around every 12 months. Lefika Hayukoron Osa Lishkas Parhedron. That's why the name began to be Lishkas Parhedron. Rashi over here says, Mitoch Shenosin Mama Lakuna, Mitoch Shekohane Bayis Sheni, Hayuamdan Al Yidei Mammon. They used to pay for the position. Shenosin Al Kuna Gedola, Lamalche Beis Chashmonoi. They would pay the Chashmonoi kings to install them as Kohanim Gedolim. And Machlifin Osa, Kol Yud Beis Chodesh, every 12 months there'd be a new one. Kilomar Shereshayim Hayu, they were wicked. V'lo Motzian Shenasan, they wouldn't even live out the year. Umamid Macher Tachtav, there would be a new one that would replace him. V'chol Kohen HaMischadish Basoser Osa. Now what would happen is, Rashi says, every new Kohen Gadol would break this lishka down. Uvona Binyanam in a Rishon, he would build it nicer than the first. Shetei Krui Al Shemo, he would want to name it after himself. V'nimtza Mischalefes Kol Shana V'Shana. So that this lishka itself changed over every year. That's why they called it the Lishkas Parhedron. And the Gemara continues, Tanan Hasam, we learned in a Mishnah over there, Hanachtomin lo chayvu osan chachomim lahafresh ela trumas meiser v'chala. When it comes to the bakers who are professional, they're selling it as a business, so we did not make them separate. The only thing we make them separate if they get from an Amoritz was trumas meiser and chala. And Rashi over here says, Hanachtomin, halochin tavua me'amoritz. We're talking here in the Mishnah about bakers who buy crop, who buy grain from an Amoritz, limchor pas l'shuk, in order to sell bread to the marketplace. So lo chayvu alein lahalos meiser sheni shel demai l'Yerushalayim. So normally you get from an Amoritz, you're going to have to take off meiser sheni and bring it to Yerushalayim. We said they don't have to do that. Ela trumas meiser shu'echad mimeya. The only thing they need to worry about is trumas meiser, which is 1/100th. V'chala yiten l'kohen, and chala they should give to the Kohen. Avol shar kol adam, but when it comes to other individuals, hitilu olav lahalos meiser sheni shel demai l'Yerushalayim. They have an obligation when they have meiser sheni of demai to bring it up to Yerushalayim. And Rashi finishes umeiser rishon umeiser ani. When it comes to meiser rishon and meiser ani, mafrishon osan, you do separate them. V'ei knows them, but you don't have to give it to the Levi. You don't have to give it to the ani. And Rashi says, "Uvenachtum chaver askinim." We're talking here about a nachtum who's a chaver, it's not an amoritz. When we talk shuraga limchor kol shah, because he does this as a business, he sells all the time. Hikilu all of their lenient. Sheinu tzarich lahafresh all of meiser sheni shel demai lalos l'Yerushalayim lechol. he doesn't have to separate Meiser Sheni of Demai and bring it up to Yerushalayim. They changed the gear, so over here he doesn't have to bring it up to Yerushalayim to eat it. And the Gemara continues, Bishlama Truma Gedola. I understand what this Mishnah in Demai is saying when it comes to Truma Gedola, that the Nachdom doesn't have to separate. Lo, there's no need. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Tes Amud Aleph.